Welcome everybody. Today we are talking about the temperate zones. Social studies for class 5 CBSE, the temperate zones. We have already seen, based on the temperature, based on how far they are from the equator, the various parts of the earth are divided into three zones. The temperate zone, the tropical zone, the frigid zone. Frigid zone is nearer the North Pole and South Pole where it is very hot, very cold, and then the regions near the equator where it is very hot, and the regions between Arctic Circle and Tropic of Cancer or Antarctic Circle and Tropic of Capricorn, which is very cold. So these are the three zones that we have studied. Now we will see in detail a little bit about the temperate zone. The North Frigid Zone is between 66 degree north and the North Pole. It is around 4% of the Earth's surface. The South Frigid Zone is between 66 degrees south and 90 degrees south. That's the South Pole, which is around 4.25 or 4.5% of the Earth's surface. The North Temperate Zone is Tropic of Cancer to Arctic Circle, and the South Temperate Zone is Tropic of Capricorn to Antarctic Circle. This covers around 50 to 52% overall. The temperate zones together carry 50% of the Earth's surface, the habitable land. The Torrid Zone is from Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. This is the Torrid Zone. This is almost the hottest region where we have the rainforest and the deserts. We have already seen the rainforests and the deserts. Now we will have to look at the North Temperate Zone and South Temperate Zone. The Temperate Zone, which lies between the Tropic of Cancer and Arctic Circle or the Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere, is also known as grasslands. Because here it is neither too hot and rainy nor it is very cold, so it is generally known as grasslands. The grasslands are generally divided into temperate grassland, tropical grassland and steppe grasslands. The temperate grasslands are the grasslands in temperate region, tropical grasslands in the tropical region, steppe grasslands in the frigid region. The tropical grasslands are also called savannas. Tropical grasslands are also called savannas. Now we are looking at only temperate zone and temperate grasslands. The temperate grasslands are again divided into prairies in North America. They are called pampas in South America. They are called velds in Africa. In Asia, in Russia, they are called steppes. And in Australia, they are called downs. So the downs, the steppes, the velds, the pampas and the prairies is what we are now trying to have a general look at. These are in temperate grassland. Steppes is temperate as well as frigid, and then you have the tropical grassland called savannas. Why are these areas called savannas? The prairies here, pampas here, the yells here, the downlands here, and in Asia you have the steppes in the Russian region, while that in India, Pakistan, Afghanistan is called not the tropical grassland but temperate grassland. The thick line that you see here is an imaginary line in the center of the earth called as equator. These are called grasslands because grasses are dominant. Grasses are the dominant vegetation. Trees and shrubs are mostly absent, but grasses are there in general, in overall total. Mostly they are plains. And they will have hills but not mountains. And because of this reason, you have a lot of population, lot of people living here, lot of cities and lot of civilizations in the temperate zone. Now let us look more in detail about each of this. In the northern hemisphere, you have the prairies and the steppes. These are the higher latitudes. By higher latitudes, what we mean is not closer to equator but far from equator, here and here. So they are in higher latitudes, that is not near to 0 degree equator but nearer to 66 degrees and beyond 23.5 degrees. Why? Because the region itself starts from 23.5 or 25 and goes up to 66. The region starts from 23.5 and goes up to 66 degrees in either side. Now in the northern hemisphere we have the prairies and the steppes. They are near the higher altitudes, that is not near the zero. They are far more wide and extensive. What you see here is the prairies and what you see here is the steppes. This is the prairies and this is the steppes. They are near higher altitudes, they are very extensive. While in southern hemisphere you have the pampas in southern hemisphere, South America. You have the velds in Africa and downs in Australia. These are lower latitudes. These are near lower latitudes. And then they are not dense. They are not as dense as the ones in northern hemisphere. Far more wide and extensive. far more wide and extensive in northern hemisphere. In southern hemisphere, not dense but restricted to and narrow. They are in narrow regions. In southern hemisphere, they are in narrow regions. In northern hemisphere, they are far more extensive. The grasslands. What you see here is the pampas. These are the wells and these are the downs. The downs in Australia, the wells in Africa, and pampas in South America. This is the prairies in North America and steppes in Russia. These are the temperate grasslands. Tropical grasslands are also there called as savannas, and then you have a steppe grasslands. In northern hemisphere, as far as the climate is concerned, the grasslands are mostly interior of the continents. They are in the middle of the continent. They are in the center of the continent. You can see they are in the middle of the continent in northern hemisphere, but here they are near the plain, the coasts, or near the seas and oceans. In northern hemisphere, they are in the interior of the continents. They have very hot summer and very cold winter. The grasslands of the northern hemisphere, that is the steppes or the pampas, have a very hot summer and very cold winter. They have a continental climate. Steppes, the pampas, they are in the interior of the mountains. They have very hot summer and very cold winter. They have a continental climate. And then the Chinook winds. What are Chinook winds? Chinook winds are so named because they come from the land of Chinook Native Americans, which lies to the west of the Rocky Mountains. So these are the Rockies. So to the west of Rockies is where from the Chinook Mountain the wind starts and it comes, and because of the mountains it goes down. These are the Rocky Mountains, these are the highlands, and these are the Chinook winds. This is a pictorial representation, Chinook winds. You have Chinook winds in the pampas. And what they do, they blow in spring, they melt the snow of the Rockies and help the grazing of the animals, the Chinook winds. This is a characteristic of the pampas in northern hemisphere, North America. In southern hemisphere, mostly they are found near the coast. The wells, the downs are found near the coast. They are neither too hot nor too cold. The temperature of the grasslands in the southern hemisphere is neither too hot nor too cold. They have a moderate climate, and the climate is made better by the sea breeze, and so it is pleasant. What is a sea breeze? Sea breeze is during the day, the land becomes hot, the air becomes warm, it rises up, it becomes lighter and rises up. So to offset the space created by the air that went up, the breeze from the sea comes into the land and it is cool. And so it gives a cool breeze to the land in the evening and night. So the climate is pleasant. This is a sea breeze, a pictorial representation of sea breeze. The land breeze and sea breeze as an effect of the evaporation and heating up of the air we have studied in earlier classes. Chinook winds is what is new to you. It comes from the western side of the Rockies. Western side of the Rockies is where the native Red Indians used to live. It is called Chinook because it comes from there. It actually, what it does is the winds blow in spring over the prairies, melting the snow and making the grazing easy. Why is the grazing required to be easy? We will see in subsequent slides. Now, what are the characteristics? There are more, if there is a more rainfall in a particular grassland, you will have the grass that is tall. These are found in prairies. Prairies, you have more rainfall, the grasses are tall. In areas where there are lesser rainfall, like steppes, you have shorter grasses. So the prairies and pampas have long grasses. Prairies and pampas have long grasses. The steppes have short grasses. So you have either the grassland full of tall grass or grassland made of short grasses. The common grasses of the prairies and pampas are the alfalfa. Alfalfa. They are called alfalfa grasses. Alfalfa grass, as well as we have another type of grass called clover grass. The clover leaves and alfalfa grass are helpful for the ox, horse, cattle, buffaloes, etc. The alfalfa grass and the clover leaves are helpful as the cattle feed, and these are found rich in the grasslands. So, because cattle rearing becomes easy, settlement of human beings happened over here. That is why you have lots of population in the temperate grasslands. More rainfall makes a grass tall, lesser rainfall makes a grass short. You have popularly the alfalfa grass or the clover leaves which help as a cattle feed. In spring, the grass is fresh and it looks green. This is about the climate or the way things change in the grasslands according to the changes in climate. During spring, the grass is fresh and looks green. In summer, it turns brown. In autumn, it dries and becomes the color of an amber or a dried up grass, and in winter, the grassland vegetation dies. In winter, most of the grassland vegetation dies. Spring, it is green, in summer, it turns brown, in autumn, it dries, and in winter, it dies. But the roots in the ground remains as it is. And then the roots start sprouting up again in spring. The roots start sprouting up again in spring. This is how the life cycle of the grasses or the plants in the temperate grasslands works like. The trees are found mostly near the water bodies. You will have trees, not only grasses in grassland, you will find trees, shrubs, but they will be only near water bodies, they will not be found everywhere. Or these should be the trees planted by the farmers. So you have the plantations or afforestation or commercial cultivation. If that is there, then you will have lots of trees in grassland. So people have adopted to grassland because grazing was easy, because all the climate was acceptable, and then the cattle could live well, and cattle feed like alfalfa and clover was available. And then man started planting and growing crops. Man started agriculture. There you will find other trees. Going forward, looking at the wildlife, we have seen the plant life, what sort of trees or how the changes in colors happen or what leaves are there. Looking at animal life, the animals sometimes hibernate during winter to avoid looking for food. Not because food is not readily available, but to avoid looking for food, they sleep through instead of hunting. So the sleeping through for long period instead of going out and hunting is called hibernation. We have also seen migration and estuation and so many other things in previous classes. So this hibernation is sleeping through mostly in winter instead of going out for hunting food. Many animals hibernate in the grasslands. Now, large animals in the grasslands are mostly in the northern hemisphere. They are the bisons and grizzly bears. We have seen in deserts we don't have large mammals because there are not enough trees to give them shade. The habitat is not fair enough to provide shelter from the hot sun. In equatorial rainforests, we have seen the plantation is so thick because of the rain that sunlight does not even reach the ground. In temperate grasslands, what we see is the climate is very good. It is moderate, even though the summers are hot and winters are very cold. So mammals are found, and among the mammals, the large ones are the bisons and grizzly bears. Bisons and grizzly bears are found. These are the bisons. What you see here is the bison. These are the bisons and grizzly bears are found in the northern hemisphere. Then, among the wild animals, you find wolves. Why? Because the food system or the ecosystem says the leaf will be eaten by the herbivores and there will be carnivores who will eat the herbivores, and that is how the balance in the food chain is maintained. You also find squirrels, a hedgehog, etc. who hibernate in winter. In southern hemisphere, you mostly find llamas, kangaroos and wallabies. In southern hemisphere, you find llamas, kangaroos and wallabies. So, the animals like bisons and grizzly bears are there in the pampas. And then you have wild animals like wolves. Then you have llamas. You will find anacondas in the pampas in South America. You will find anacondas there because in the Amazon Valley, you will find anacondas. In Australia, you find kangaroos and wallabies. Australian kangaroos and wallabies, that means in downs. Llamas are found in South America. You also have horses and deer. You have lots of horses and deer. So that is why the North American prairies are home to lots of horses. The small animals that we can see are those that hibernate. Now, what are kangaroos and what are wallabies? The big animals are kangaroos, exactly same. Marsupial, they will carry their baby in their bag, all that same. It will look exactly like the kangaroo, but they are small in size. They are called wallabies. So, the wallabies and kangaroos are also found in the grasslands of Australia. You will have koalas and you will have other animals. Coming to human life, in the northern hemisphere, the agriculture is mainly wheat, barley and rye and sometimes oats. The northern hemisphere, the agriculture is wheat, barley, rye and oats. And because it is grassland, it is plains. Because it is grassland and plains, mechanized farming is possible. So you have a combined harvester and other such machines. Mechanized farming is possible And combined harvester was invented only because the plains of the prairies made it convenient for using machines for agriculture. The prairies are called the granary of the world because of the large amount of wheat that they grow and give us. Now, the people who take care of the sheep are called shepherds. The people who care of the cow are called cowherds. These things we have heard. Now there is something called a cowboy. Cowboys are the people who ride on horses and take care of the ranch. Ranch is a place where your big compound will be there, and in an open space, oxen or horse and other things will be let to grow in these grasslands. So, cowboys in prairies ride horses and take care of the cattle in the farms. So the farm where the cattle, the oxen, the horses and all are bred is called the ranch. The cowboys take care of the ranch, and they don't just walk like a shepherd in a story, but they go on horses. They ride on horses and manage the cattle. In South America, in the Pampas, they are not called cowboys, they are called gauchos. And the ranch is not called a ranch. In North America it is called a ranch, but in South America they are called estancia. So gaucho and estancia in the Pampas, the cowboy and ranchers in the prairies take care of the cattle breeding in the farms. Large areas of quite a large number of ox, horse and other cattle are bred over there. So it is not just 10 but hundreds of animals will be there. You would have seen in lots of movies the cowboys and gauchos. Now at present Argentina is famous for gaucho or estancia. You can even today you can see them. Now what happens is in the grassland, depends upon the type of the grass and depending upon the type of the animal, sometimes people will have to live a nomadic life depending upon where the grass that they have in mind is available. So there are lots of people even today who live a nomadic life in the grasslands. Now if you look at the tribal nomads, there are two types of tribal nomads available even today that you can see. One is the Kyrgyz nomads. One is the Kyrgyz nomads on the steppes, who graze the ox, the sheep, the goats and things like that. The sheep and goats are good enough to provide skin or fur. In the North America, the Red Indians are still having some sort of nomadic life. And then you have the Hottentot tribes. The Hottentot tribes are found in South Africa. So in the Wells, you will find the Hottentot tribes. So in the picture that you see, these are the Kyrgyz tribes and these are the Hottentot tribes. Kyrgyz tribes and Hottentot tribes. These are the cowboys taking care of the horses and animals. These two pictures represent the Red Indians who were the original inhabitants of the North American continent. Actually, all the people in the North America today are mostly the descendants of the settlers. The settlers are the people who went from Europe and England into the America, and they created a state called United States of America. Before that, the North America, you had only nomadic tribes like the Red Indians. So these are the lifestyle of the people or the human life in the grasslands of pampas, prairies and steppes. Now you have a very small population of the Red Indian natives of the America, but if you still want to see the original tribes, in Australia you can still see them. Also in some parts of Africa and the Wales, you can still see the nomadic tribes who live a different life from what you see among your friends. The important words that we studied in this session are the temperate zone. We have three zones: temperate, the tropical and the frigid. Temperate zone is what is between the Arctic Circle and Tropic of Cancer, or Antarctic Circle and Tropic of Capricorn. Grasslands are called so because lots of grasses are there and not big trees like the equatorial rainforest. The grasslands are mostly plains. There are different types of grasslands with different names like prairies, pampas, steppes, wells, downs, etc. They have a continental climate because very hot summer and very cold winter. They have Chinook winds because it comes from the Chinook area, and over the Andes during the spring it helps the snow melt and give a good grazing atmosphere. The alfalfa leaves and the clover leaves, alfalfa grass and clover leaves provide good food for the cattle, so the areas are good for cattle rearing as a animal husbandry or agricultural activity. There are some small animals that hibernate, while you have big mammals like bison and horses also. The prairies are called the granary because they produce a lot of wheat. In ranches you will find estancia, and in in ranches in prairies or in the Pampas estancia, you have lots of ox, cow, and other cattle are bred. So the breeding place, and they have lots of grasslands to on which they can feed. The people who take care of the ranch is called the cowboy, while the men who take care of the estancia are called gauchos. They ride on horses and manage the cows. The cows are not tied to a shed, but the oxes, the cows, the horses are let to roam freely in the grasslands. Sometimes they live a nomadic life, going to different places where different types of grasses are available. Prairies, pampas, steppes, velds and downs are the different type names given to different grasslands. The Kyrgyz tribe is a nomadic tribe and the Hottentot is another nomadic tribe. This is in in Africa, and this is in Russia, where they live a nomadic life and chase the grasslands as the climate changes. And they mostly, in Kyrgyz, you have sheep and goat that bear special fur which can be sold and traded. Thanks for watching this video. Please keep coming back. We were talking about the grasslands in the temperate zone, class 5 social studies.